L.J. Martin, and I'd like to welcome you to the kitchen at Wolfpack Ranch, where we're all about good food and country cooking. Not gonna know what country till we take a little peek around, see what's on the menu for tonight. I got no requests from the big boss. She's in there pounding away on the word processor. I'm married to Kat Martin, who's a New York Times best-selling writer. Consequently, as a result of all her books published around the world, we've got to travel a whole bunch. Brought you back a whole lot of great recipes from a lot of great countries. What we cook is going to be succulent and delicious and stick to the ribs wonderful, and you and your family are going to love it. So don't you dare go away. I'm going to take a little peek at the wonderful ingredients of these larders that we have today, thanks to all the farmers and ranchers and food processors we have in the world who do such a wonderful job. And then we're going to get back here and we're going to put something together that's fun. Don't go away. Okay, I found a beautiful pork loin in there, so we're going to do that. I found a little baby bok choy. I got some apples. I'm going to do an apple gravy. It's kind of fun. And I've got some couscous. So we're going to get started by making a rub for this beautiful pork loin. I'm going to grab this little guy right here, and like a lot of rubs I do, I'm going to use a teaspoon of cornstarch. And the only reason for that is to get it to stick nicely to the roast when you do it. I've got some wonderful deli mustard here. I'm going to use a tablespoon of that. I'm going to use a teaspoon of soy sauce. I can cook something with an oriental flair without soy sauce. I'm going to use a little honey. We have our own hives. We have our hives here in the ranch. We got a dozen of them or so, tended by a beekeeper who comes over and takes care of them. We get our share for land rent, which is kind of nice. We got lots of honey. I'm a great believer in honey. I think it's the good Lord's natural sweetener, and it's wonderful. And I got about a teaspoon of olive oil here. We're going to use that. We're going to use a teaspoon of good old black pepper and a teaspoon of salt. This time it's kosher salt, but use any old salt you want. And I'm going to just kind of mush this together. This is going to serve as a little topping on that roast. Okay, there's that. Let's get this roast ready to go. Is that pretty? It's a little over 2 pounds of pork loin, but it is gorgeous. We're going to put that on a rack, just like this. I am going to salt and pepper it a little bit before I put it in there, just in addition to what we have in the rub. Everything's better with a little salt and pepper. Give it a little bit of bite, almost everything. Okay, I'm going to flip this in a 350-degree oven and just let it cook away. I'm not going to tell you how long, because I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I'm going to use a meat thermometer, and that way we can make it perfect. We're going to bring it up to 135 degrees in the middle. My darling cat doesn't like any pink in the pork, although I don't think it's nearly as important as it was at one time. And then we're going to make us some pork gravy. I'm going to also, by the way, chowder up a little rosemary and a little thyme. Thyme is the great French spice, absolutely imperative if you like to cook French. French seem to be doing it pretty well these days. Kat and I did a and my brother and his lady did a canal trip in France. We rented these little old canal boats. Actually, it was a pretty good sized boat. Held the four of us very comfortably. Had a nice deck on the back. Had rubber up and down the sides. It's kind of like a rubber bumpers. Pretty hard to get in trouble in those little skinny canals. Past other boats in there, and if you got a little too close, that was okay too, because everybody had these rubber bumpers on the side. And you went in and out of these locks. We went in through, I don't know, maybe 24 locks, and pull your boat in, and up or down it goes, depending on whichever way you're headed. Boy, what a wonderful odor that is coming fresh off this stuff. It is so nice. Funny, you know, rosemary costs a lot in the market, and it's so easy to grow if you have a spot in your garden, or even in your flower beds. It's a pretty plant. It has a nice little blue flower on it. Real nice. Okay, I'm gonna add this into our rub. Use another little stir. And I'm going to get ready to do this couscous and this gravy, and while I'm doing that, you take a look at Montana and Wolfpack Ranch. I'll be right back. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that little trip around the ranch and the countryside. We love the critters around here, and it just is it's a thrill for me always. I spend a lot of time out there with my cameras. I did that first segment without my apron on. I am going to get in trouble with my darling for that and get this shirt all messed up. So I'm going to don this Wolfpack Ranch apron and see if I can tie it. Can't trust a cook who can't tie his apron, or you can't trust a skinny one. We know that for sure. Okay, we're going to do a little, we'll do the couscous first. How's that for a deal? I got just a regular little package of couscous. This one happened to come with a little bit of spice in it. It's got a few little pine nuts in it, but we're not going to let that stand in our way. It's going to be wonderful. I'm going to chowder up this scallion. Something to give this couscous a little more kick and a little more color. There we go. I'm going to grab this little pan. I'm going to put a cup and a quarter of water in this little guy. And we're going to heat it. We're going to do it with scallions in it so they get a little bit of cook on them. Okay, that's going to do that. We're going to do cashew couscous. In addition to the few little pine nuts that are already in there, I'm going to add some cashews because I love cashews. There's very few vegetable dishes that you can't enhance by putting nuts in it. I use, in this instance, unsalted cashews. Can't find unsalted. You don't want the salt. Wash them off. If you like them like I do either way, I usually salt the dish anyway, so I don't care if they're salted or unsalted. It's just the amount of salt that I put in. We're going to use that. This one is almost too simple for words. Then we're going to do our apple gravy. We've got, for that, I've got a quarter teaspoon actually of tarragon, not fresh, but right out of the spice bottle. I've got a half a teaspoon of oregano, and I got a half a teaspoon of garlic salt. I got a little honey. I got some nice fresh apples, one Rome apple. We do have apple trees right here on on the ranch, in the old ranch house, the old farmhouse that was here before we came along. The old boy had planted some apple trees, and it's wonderful. We've got a neighbor who's got a press, and it gets to be apple cider time. He presses some juice, and we're going to use a little juice in this apple gravy, in addition to a little bit of water. And we're going to do our baby bok choy. Got a little rice vinegar for it. Actually, the rice vinegar and the cashews are both a little bit on the oriental side, which is not all bad, which we're kind of leaning toward in this meal. So I'm gonna, as my water's heating up, I'm gonna sneak out of here for a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, I stuck away, got myself a cup of tea. That's a little Oriental too, I guess. I've got my water boiling here. This couscous, like I said, is the world's simplest thing to make. We're gonna dump the couscous in there. We're gonna dump our cashew couscous. I kind of like the sound of that. Okay, now you just want to bring it back to a little bit of a bubble and set it off. I don't know how it could be any easier than that. Now we're going to do our apple gravy. This little guy, I'm going to use a regular little skillet to do this in. I'm going to put a cup of water in it. And I'm going to put a half a cup of Wolfpack Ranch fresh pressed apple cider. That'll make it strong. I'm going to put a squirt of honey in there. That's good for about a tablespoon, maybe. Okay, we're going to let that heat just a little tad. And I got a couple of chicken bouillon cubes. See if I can roll a 7. And they are going to be one of the primary spices in this little gravy, which I'm going to thicken with some instant flour. They actually call it mixing flour, and that's a lazy man's way to thicken the gravy, but it works real well, and I don't mind being a little lazy if it saves a little time. Okay. While that's heating up, let me talk about cooking philosophy for just a minute. You know, I use lots of different spices, lots of different fresh spices, and if you don't have them readily available, if you can't get in the market to pick them up, don't worry about it. Use the dried ones. If you don't like a particular spice, leave it out. It's your kitchen, it's your family, do it the way you like it. The basis of this cooking is what's good, what makes you happy, what makes your family happy, what's helpful. Baking is a little different. Sometimes you got to be real tricky with baking because you're not going to end up with a product the way you want it at the end. But the majority of this stuff, all the meats and the vegetables that you cook, it's easy to adjust these recipes to what you got in them. Be adventuresome. I'm going to add this dried tarragon. I'm going to add this half a teaspoon of garlic salt. I'm going to add this half a teaspoon of oregano. Got a little honey in it already. Coming along. Okay, let's take this one beautiful grown apple. Make bite-sized pieces out of it at least. I've been holding that in acidated water so that it didn't turn brown. Acidated water is just something you put a little vinegar in, and in this case I use a little lemon. Pretty hard for lemon to do anything but add a nice fresh flavor to most everything you cook. Okay? We're going to throw about a tablespoon of this flour in here. That's going to go for a tablespoon and a half. There's a cup and a half of water there. A cup and a half of liquid, I should say. I'm going to do a half a cup of water again here. And we're going to cold water, by the way. When you use flour. Get that ready to go in the gravy. We're going to put our apples in there because it's cooking away. Take a peek at our couscous. How we're doing. Look what that did just sit there. Turned it into a very pretty little dish. Great odor. Smells a little oriental, as it should. Believe it or not, that's enough couscous out of that one little package for the 4 of us for dinner. I usually cook for 4, even though many times it's just Cat and I love leftovers. There's lots of wonderful tricks you can do with them. One of these days we're going to do a show. It's nothing but leftovers. We're going to have some fun doing it. Is that pretty or what? Make it even prettier. We'll drop a couple pieces of scallion on top of it so it serves pretty. Is that nice? That's saying that it's time to check the temperature on that. It's been in there 45 minutes. Like I said, I'm going to bring that roast up to 135. So it's done through, and my darling's happy. Got flour in there. Let's see if that'll make into a gravy. Did he like it all? If it didn't cook up quite thick enough, you know how to add a little more of that flour. Okay. Little peek with the. Take a little peek at this guy. She's a long ways from done, but it's always nice to see what's going on. I say she's a long ways from done. She may be a long ways from done. She may not be. Proof here is with the thermometer. Okay, we're already at 120. So I am going to take this little guy out for a second. I am going to turn the oven up from the 350 that I had it set at. We're going to run it up to 450 to really brown this. Okay, I'm about to boil my gravy over here. Turn that way down. And now, I could have bought myself one of those $12 kitchen brushes, or I could have gone into the paint store, which I did, and bought myself a nice plastic based brush. We're going to just dab this little guy all over the top, down the sides a little, with this wonderful rub, or baste, or glaze, or whatever fancy word you want to call it. I just hope we call it good. Isn't that pretty? Golly, it couldn't hardly be any prettier than that. I'm just going to put her all right there on the top. Okay. Tastes good, dude. Back in this hot oven. I'm going to take another look at it here in 10 minutes. So I'm going to set the timer. And away we go! off that. I'm gonna clean up, be right back. We're going to serve today on our Wolfpack Ranch flatware. I got wild and crazy one Christmas and had a friend of mine who's a wonderful potter, Penny Dunkley, down out of the Mexico and Arizona way. She did these for us, did the flatware and built bowls and cups, and they double as soup bowls. They're so nice and big. Okay, I think this is about done. Our couscous is done. I'm going to steam our beautiful little baby bok choys. Set this guy aside. I'm going to cut these in half so they steam a little quicker. Isn't that pretty? I just think bok choy is a wonderful, wonderful vegetable. Just as pretty as it gets. Let's get this up to temperature. Get it steaming. It's got a couple of cups of water in the bottom of it. It doesn't really matter how much as long as it's making steam. I'm going to just drop these little guys in. What nicer, cleaner way than there is to cook than just steam. One of the great things about lots of Oriental vegetables is that all they do is steam them. Okay, now let's take a peek at our roast. I think it's well there. 135, like the doctor ordered. Off she comes. Is that pretty or what? Now that's just brown. It's been in there the better part of 15 minutes, a little more than 10. So this is browning away and getting up to final speed. I'm going to let it steep for just a second in a 170-degree oven. So that's a good thing. Set it right over here. And let's mark this off so it's a little prettier. Take that little guy off. Let's steep just a second more while we're getting rid of this hot guy. Alrighty. Let's see what we got here. Oh, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. We can get them up and move them out. We got us a dish. See how our couscous, or I'm sorry, how our bok choy is doing. And I believe that it is about done. Let it drain a little tad. Distribute it around here. It needs usually about 20 minutes steaming. Let's do it that way. And that way. About 20 minutes steaming. If you leave it in nice big chunks like I did here. I'm going to do odd numbers, as my Oriental art teacher said in college. Odd numbers, grasshopper, odd numbers. Here we are. That little guy is there. Those are there. We're going to distribute this couscous around the plate. It's beautiful. Cashews. Just we'll put one little piece of onion on there. My New Orleans friends would say. There's a plate. If that's not beautiful, I don't know what is, but we got one last crowning achievement here, and that is a little bit of this beautiful gravy. I'm gonna put that in the gravy boat to serve it, but right now we're just gonna kind of distribute it right across this plate. Thusly, maybe shine this meat up a little bit more. Don't have to worry about getting it in that couscous because it'll just be complemented nicely by the gravy. Okay, there we are. Got a little bite of this roast just to make sure I got a good dew on it. Oh, and I did. I don't even have to taste it, I can tell you right away. What a great piece of meat that is. Mmm. That is so good. Okay, our thought for the day. Doesn't matter whether you can dance well, just get up and dance. I'll see you next time. Take good care of yourself. Hugs to you and yours.